Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/wyzguyradio. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. That's at www.audibletrial.com, audibletrial.com/wyzguyradio. This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show. What up, everybody? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 25. It looks like the show is officially a quarter of a century old. Holy shit. 25 episodes in. And some have been full, long episodes, some short, some delirious, some probably monotonous and boring. But either way, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm still having a blast doing all these shows and stuff. You know, it's been a lot of fun. Been getting to learn a lot of stuff myself with these interviews and the research we've been doing. And now we're putting together a team to do even more research, so you guys will have even more information, which is pretty freaking awesome. And it leads me to today's guest is a 3-year experienced electroformer named Shane Penn, who is currently in Korea, in Seoul, Korea, to be exact. And he's over there for the past year and is teaching English. Probably could teach me some English because my English sucks, but my English is better than any other language that I speak, so therefore I do speak English, and you guys do as well. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to listen to the show because you had no idea what the hell I'm saying, you know? So, anywho, Shane is on the show because, for starters, he started a new Instagram page, which I was turned on to by Eric Anders. Eric Anders shared it, and Eric Anders is the one guy in the industry who likes to say fuck China and then shows us on his Instagram page why we should all say fuck China and their shitty, toxic, chemically filled glass that takes jobs out of American pockets kind of thing, you know? And so, Eric Anders, if you're listening to this, which would be freaking awesome, you rock, dude. Thank you so much. And I want to bring you on this show to talk about this whole anti-China shit because not only is it very helpful, but it also makes me laugh on a daily basis. Especially when I see some people out there that disagree with what you have to say and like to still continue to sell import glass as American, which is horseshit. So, might I digress back to my point? Today's episode is with Shane Penn. And Shane started a glass page, informational page on Instagram called Glass Knowledge or @GlassKnowledge. So, Shane is starting a page that he is doing a weekly informational. Basically, his page says, this page is dedicated to promoting educational information about the glass community, your one stop for glass knowledge. And his actual Instagram, his personal Instagram page is called Infinite Alchemix. And I will have all his information in the show notes of the podcast where you would click on the picture or whatever the thing is, and it brings up my little write-up on the show. So it'll have his links on there for that. He will be coming back into the States in about 3 weeks, I believe he said. And what was also fun with this interview in particular is it was my first Skype interview that I've done. There's no video for it. It was just strictly just the audio portion that we recorded. But I've been experimenting with different types of recordings with whether phone and have you. And now for the first Skype, and I actually found the Skype interview was really nice, clear quality. So I might be starting to do interviews now through video conferencing and just maybe, whatever. So anyways, I'm kind of rambling on here. So yeah, so the plan is I'm going to be bringing Shane on every Wednesday for a quick little tidbit on his weekly post on his Instagram page because I feel what he's doing is awesome. He's basically taken a technique. For instance, he did one on wrap and rake, and under his page, when you click on the wrap and rake link, it then goes into all his information that he has about the history on wrap and rake technique, where it started from, kind of thing. Not all exactly full detailed like origin stories, but still has a really good overview on an educational side of the technique. And then he has a list of other artists that use this technique very well. And then he has links to their Instagram pages so you guys can see further references of what he's talking about, which is pretty freaking rad. And because of that, I'm going to be part of my show being an educational side is I'm going to be bringing him on for a weekly segment where he will be sharing his weekly technique and artists that go along with it. So something new to look forward to, which I think is pretty cool. So tomorrow and Wednesday are our last 2 official days that we are working on the studio. Our ventilation will be in and complete, and hopefully we pass all of our tests. And I don't mean like tests with like the city. I just mean like, we're going to do some smoke tests in there and make sure all of our leaks are good and blah, blah, blah. Or that we have no leaks, actually, I should say. Then we have great ventilation. And then we are rocking and rolling. So we've got some temporary setups in the meantime so we can get some stuff done. But other than that... Hi, honey. I can edit all this shit out. Okay, so the wife just walked in the garage and she's trying to be very quiet. As she tiptoes around. You want to say hi to everybody, honey?
Hi, everybody.
Love you. Hey, how about that? So, yeah, now back on track. So we got ventilation finishing up, and we are starting to be somewhat productive. I had to make sure that my little office space and all that stuff was all organized and clean, so that when I'm on the torch, I can just focus on the glass, and then as the glass is finished, I can then go to the office space and pack and ship and have everything done in a nice, orderly fashion, and also allow it so that Mr. Dorr, my assistant, is on point with me as well, on the same page, so we know where everything is and filed away and all that shit. So basically starting a whole new chapter in my life as a glass artist, going from being in my garage, doing my own thing now after I'm kind of a little back up. Once I got my gig at Disney, I decided I wanted to completely restructure my glass business because it was run very immaturely for a long time. And being in situations I was in, I wasn't very happy either. So now that I'm at this point in my life where all is well, I can actually focus on what it was from the beginning that I had in mind for this business, and now I have an assistant to help me do that, which is going to lead into further other things with other people. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, guys, so we'll be getting going, and thank you those that are waiting for glass from myself, for the patience. It's greatly appreciated because it gives me a chance just to focus on what I'm doing with the studio. So I'm kind of learning how to be a one thing at a time kind of guy, not just trying to do 5 things at once, because then all 5 things end up sucking. So if I can just focus on one thing at a time, and I suggest you guys do that in your life too, and in your glass as well, just focus on one thing at a time. Multitasking can be beneficial in certain areas, maybe paperwork, for instance, or dishes, where you can like watch a TV show and do dishes at the same time, or like listen to this podcast and blow glass, or drive your car, or what have you. But when you're trying to be productive and creative in way too many areas at one time, like for instance when I was trying to be a full-time employee with Disney and also trying to be a full-time husband and father, I was beginning to feel like I was sucking at both. Even though both sides told me I wasn't, I still felt like I was because I was just burning myself out. So because the business was able to sustain myself, I went part-time, and then now I'm seasonal, so I can really just focus on everything, but only one thing at a time. So just a little side note pointer there as it comes to mind. So other than that, y'all, hope y'all are having a beautiful weekend, and Monday is going good and productive, and you're starting the week well. Make sure y'all drink lots of water this week. Don't forget to stretch. Don't forget to call your mom or dad or best friend or sister, brother, whoever you have in your life that you care about, and tell them you love them. And give your dog and cat a hug and squeeze too for me. And other than that, y'all, take care. Don't forget to go to wyzguyradio.com for current updates. We will be having exclusive full-length episodes on there pretty soon. Like, for instance, Rashawn Jones, episodes 1, 2, and 3 will be converted into one episode, that long one, that you'll be able to stream live from the site. So stuff like that's going on. We got a lot of fun things. We're still in the process of uploading files and paperwork and what have you on there for you guys to download. But once that is up and running, I will make a big announcement and let you guys know what is available. And don't forget to subscribe to our emails. The emails are starting back up this week, where we will be having special announcements, upcoming guests, exclusive discounts, all that fun shit. So thanks to guys again for coming along for this fun, crazy, wacky, wild show. it's a lot of fun. And I couldn't ask for a better audience. So anyways, guys, take it easy. We'll talk to you soon. Peace. What is going on, Shane? How are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing really well. A little tired after a long day of work, but I'm enjoying the night just fine.
Hell yeah, man. So you're currently in Korea teaching English, I take it, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm over here. I decided to take an opportunity to fly over here and teach English for a year. I've been working at a private school, teaching kindergarten all the way up to 7th grade.
Nice. So in your time down there, you've started this Instagram page, which is what we're here to talk about, called Glass Knowledge, where you're dropping knowledge every week on some new concepts and ideas out there in the world of glass. And it's been fun watching the page. I was turned on to it by, I think Eric Anders actually, posted it. And I immediately was like, oh, who's these guys? They're kind of copying what I'm doing. And then I went on there and saw it, and I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome, because it's a whole new educational concept, which, you know, as our community grows, the education continues to grow. You know, it's amazing how many just collectors out there are like, hey, man, can you make this with, you know, amber purple and purple rain, and, you know, like, they know the colors and the names, and, like, it's amazing, you know, where it's at. So with your page now that you're doing, which again, guys, it's called it's at Glass Knowledge, and it's got some good stuff on there, and every week he's doing a different tech and different artist that specialize in those techs. And so I figured I'd talk to him today and see if we can do some cross-promotion and work together and help spread this knowledge in this world of glass, because now we're here to help you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, man. It's been a really exciting event. It actually all started on an Eric Enders post. He was off, he has this huge promotional thing against China glass and getting people just the education out about painted glass and the health risks behind it, and also just how it hurts the American industry. And you know, the common thread I've seen in his posts are people just bantering back and forth and just being a yell fest. And you know, I just got caught up in it, anyone does it, right? Oh, I'm so mad, I'm so furious. And I got caught up in this idea, and I was like, I just wish there was a page where we could actually just have some base knowledge where people could share this and it could be easily accessible. And it started off with me just being like, some of you guys got to do this. I don't got time to do this. And then the second step was all right, I have an hour before work, so I made a page, had the password, made a fake email, and called glassknower@gmail, and set it up. And I was like, all right, whoever wants it, DM me. You can have the whole project. I did all the hard work. Now you just got to take it forward. And no one contacted me. So I was like, you know what? I'll make a post. And it worked out. And I was like, all right, this isn't too bad. I think I can do this. I might need a little help. And I caught, someone was making a bunch of comments on the stuff and was just really interested in it. And this guy named John out of Canada was just like, hey, man, you're doing something really cool here. And I was like, yeah, I need some help. You want to help? And now it's just been me and him so far, just going back and forth, just doing tons of research on a post and just talking about it, and just been really trying to build this community and just build this knowledge base. And the reception has just been huge, and it's been really cool. Yeah,
dude, I hope that we can get you a bunch of followers, because it's definitely something needed. My perspective on what I'm doing is similar to yours. My focus is more on the perspective from the glass artist. And being that you do have a background with the electroforming and in the community itself, so you're not necessarily a senior glass artist, but you do have your foot in the door per se with the community. So you're not just some jabroni out there that thinks that he knows what he's talking about. So it's pretty cool that you do have a background, and the fact that you're a teacher too, which really, I know a lot of people out there that think that they can teach and they can't, and it's really important to actually be able to teach and actually come across as a teacher, not just some guy typing up some shit that you're copying off Google or something like that,
Yeah, absolutely. The big thing that I've noticed as well is my background comes off of, one, the electroforming, and two, I worked at a very, very nice, all 100% USA head shop out of northern Minnesota called Legacy Glass for about 4.5 years. And getting trained into that job, I started from day one when they, almost when they first opened. They were open a month, and I got hired on. And the owner was actually my cousin. He opened up in the local area. He would grill us, me and the other employees, on glass facts, what is this over here? Who made this piece over here? What's the style over here? And so there's this huge education that was just overwhelming at first, but it sticks after a while, and eventually I'm getting hyped, and I found that my job was easier the more I educated our customers. And so I decided to come at this whole idea from that consumer basis, where I want to make a page where any person new to the glass industry or even old can come to this, can easily see a picture that looks badass or like is very identifiable with a word on it, like example like borosilicate or line work. Click on that and just really check that out and see what that is. And like it starts off giving a description, give any history we can, and kind of do a, because Instagram is very limiting on the text amount, do a concise enough representation of what this is that a person can leave that post feeling more confident about what they're going into. So they can walk into a store, feel more comfortable, know what it takes to make something, and not feel like a dumbass. Because how many times have you seen a brand new person in the community just make a fool of themselves or just not know anything? And like shop owners as well, or shop people being like, oh, you don't know what Brandon Martin is?
Right.
Like,
yeah, dude, like I talked to some friends when I was letting them know I was doing Coil's interview, and they're like, who's Coil? I'm like, how the fuck do you not know who Coil is? So I made sure that I let them know who he was. I sent them a bunch of pictures. Like, it's important. But it's also like, so people aren't going into shops who are like, hey, man, is that double blown? It's like, we got to get rid of that shit. Like, if we can all work together as a team and eradicate the words double and triple blown.
Absolutely. Honestly, the first time I heard that, I had to laugh just because, it really came out of like the 90s and this whole like hand-to-hand pipe selling thing, just like lying to the consumer, and that doesn't help anyone. Like, you don't need to say it's been double blown. You can say like it is X millimeters thick.
Yeah. It's
been blown with X amount of color, and be like, yeah, look at it. Physically look at this piece here. It's beautifully blown. It's thick as shit. It's been, and we have encased things in here, and you can explain what that is. There's no reason to lie to the consumer. In fact, the more you educate them, the more they're willing to pay for your item.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like this kind of silly thing. We should do a book, like a biography on the origins of the term triple blown. Be a New York Times #1 bestseller.
It's going to come back to like some like heady wook just traveling around Grateful Dead or whatever, just being like, who wants a triple blown piece? Yeah, it's not a good scene to follow.
I know, it's so funny. So when did you get into electroforming, and who introduced you to that?
So, like I said, I was working for the shop and called Legacy Glassworks. It's out of northern Minnesota. If you're ever up in that area, I highly suggest talking it out. The whole premise of the store was 100% USA glass, no imports at all. And like it came down to even his like glass bats were not imported. He was like, I've been looking out for American dugouts forever, and he finally found them. Like, he got them in, but we didn't have dugouts for like a year and a half because of that. Huh. And the owner was just like, so there's a lot of electroforming coming out of Minnesota, and we got this guy up north here called Scott Bennett, Ryan Bennett, and his mom Linda out of Cherry Glass. I don't know if you're familiar with their work.
I've heard the name.
So, yeah, they do these beautiful, beautiful encased animals and encased insects on their glass pipes and whatnot. And so my roommate at the time was also an employee, and Josh, the owner of the store, is just like, hey, I want they got his current apprentice at their glassblowing studio doing this electroforming, and he was just sucking at it, just terrible at it, wasn't taking any time at it, and wasn't doing anything. And so he was like, well, I'd rather have him trying to learn to blow glass, and I can pass it on to someone else. So me and my roommate went up to Cherry Glass and got a really fresh 2-hour lesson in it, and were sent along our merry way with this really beat up setup that was kicked down to us. And so it was really a hands-on learning process for like the first year of just trying to figure it out, trying to do it, and I just kept up with it. My roommate eventually stopped doing it, didn't want to, it was just too much work for him, but I kind of fell in love with the process and I really just hit it hard for about 2 years into it, so I've been doing it about 3.
Cool. Yeah, it's a lot of cool science involved in it. It's part of the thing that gets me going with, like, just in glass in general, but then like when the electroforming started coming out, like with Shipwreck and all the other cats out there that are doing it, was like, Big Pizzle and freaking what's his face having a brain fart.
Oh man, some of the best out there. Like you got Scotty G was the original, like the OG. Him and Snick were like the two
Snick.
big.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
And then out of there we had like Scotty G hit the scene, Snick, and then we had the Big Pizzle. Shipwreck Glass I think has been doing even longer. Not quite sure about that, but a lot of those guys have just been doing ever. It was actually a Shipwreck rig that I saw for like the first time I saw blue patina and was like, whoa. Like it got me hyped about it, and like I really pursued it really heavily, and I've been I've been really trying to push the limits ever since. Some of the people that are really heavy in the industry right now are Coons Glass,
yeah,
just crushing it, Kuhn's, like with his 3D printing and his like design work based around that 3D printing knowledge that he has. And I would say Electro B is also killing it too, if you're familiar with his work.
No, I'm sure I've seen it. I gotta check it out though. I'll definitely have all these names and links in the show notes for sure.
He just did a show down in Florida, actually. His very clean work, very, very clean work, Electro B. And Kuhn's as well.
Hell yeah, that's awesome, dude. So, like, do you see what's the future looking like, do you think, for this page that you're doing? Like, do you have, like, just kind of seeing where it takes you, or do you have some plans for it?
So, I mean, realistically, it's hard to say that at the moment just because it's 5 days old. Like, we've just been really pushing it for, like, it's about in between, like, 5 and a week old. Mm-hmm. And at first, it was just like, I just wanted to make a page where any shop owner could take his employee and be like, all right, welcome to our glass store. And as a new employee, I want you to go through this page and learn everything on it. Click on every link. I want you to read every single picture, and you will be trained. So that was like my mind going in, like, what could my old boss could have showed me that would have saved me just a year of trouble? But from that, we've been talking, me and John, the guy from Canada, and I think where it's looking at is it's going to be a big educational tool. I don't know if we're going to be going farther, like hitting up conventions or anything like that. Who knows? But realistically, we want to keep it as pure as possible, in the idea that it's just about spreading the knowledge and building the community. I would like to get as many followers as possible, be them glass blowers and first-time glass enthusiasts, and try to really meld that community to really build knowledge. And it's already begun. Like today, Yusheen hit me up on the line work page that we just posted this morning and was like, yo, DM me for any details or any more information. And I'm all over that. I'm trying to have more questions answered from him so I can spread that knowledge instantly and give him the credit that he deserves for spreading that knowledge. Yeah. So the more we do that, I want to help bridge that gap a little bit. Yeah, man. Actually, he's somebody I'm going to get a hold of next week to see about bringing on the show. He's definitely somebody that I've been admiring forever since I started doing this. It's pretty cool. So that's awesome that he's gotten back to you about that, man. Because the thing with Instagram I think is awesome is the fact that we have this direct contact with the people in the community. To really, like Twitter's kind of the same way, but like I find Instagram is way easier to communicate and talk to people. Not everybody is going to talk. Some people just use their page for just a page to promote pictures or whatever, but there's a handful of artists out there that are, the big ballers out there that have been just killing it, and they're all about talking with the community, and it's freaking awesome. Like Facebook's hard to do that with sometimes because of their algorithms and other bullshit you have to deal with, where Instagram's like this direct contact. Their DM doesn't always work necessarily the right way, but, it's still... That's something that could be hashed out a little bit for sure, their DM process, because it's really easy to miss a DM, and then you just never knew it was there, and if you don't check, that can be a little rough. Yeah. I heard a quote the other day where it was, what is it? Facebook is kind of like the Walmart of social media right now. No wonder I don't go there that much. Yeah, exactly. And the thing about Instagram I've noticed is that, a lot of communities use it very differently, but the glass community has just embraced it as that's the main communication via the consumer out there. That's how you build your fan base, is your Instagram page and as a glassblower. And yeah, I agree. If you're not rocking a couple thousand followers, who the hell are you? Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem with it. But I think that also says it lets your art sell, and it also has brought out a lot of different ways of trying to reach out to that audience. There's another giveaway every single day. I've been planning on doing ones my own when I get back to try and help build my personal page, and that's rough. It's how do you reach out to that farther audience and actually have that an attainable thing too, though? How do you make them actually come to you? Because not everyone is going to do a giveaway, and are those necessarily the people you want to like your page too? Yeah, I agree because I know in the past when I was first doing giveaways, and a couple people that had won the initial giveaways, all their Instagram was a giveaway page. It didn't piss me off. It was frustrating because I didn't feel like the true fan per se actually won the piece. So it's I think Instagram's also kind of going through and weeding that stuff out as well. But like you're saying, it seems like the community. I really would be interested to see if there was a way demographically or through hashtags or something like that to where you can see how broad the spectrum of the glass community is between the collectors, because you got guys out there that have 25,000 followers
And it's like, do they really have 25,000 followers, or is it like maybe they've got 15 and the other 10 are bullshit? Like, you never know. But then you see like their likes on pictures, and they've got like 2,000 likes. Like, I was looking at this elbow picture the other day that he did, and he had like 3,000 likes or some shit. I was like, you know, it's mind blowing, you know, that to see that. But it would also be like, man, your phone's got to be dead in like an hour after you post a picture from it blowing up from all the, you know, stuff.
Well, you can set it so certain notifications won't even show up. So you can set, I'm pretty sure you can set Instagram where it's like, you don't want to even see, it won't tell you anyone liked your page anymore. Like, you're only getting direct messages and comments.
Interesting. Yeah, because like part of the thing I'm promoting too with the show for the artist and scheduling is when you're on the tour, just to leave your phone in the house, so you're not being distracted by the notifications and stuff. Because like I use my iPad a lot when I'm working out in the shop, just for Netflix or whatever I'm watching, or my podcast or whatever. And so I've just put it on airplane mode, or not airplane mode, but the moon picture thingy, so it's on silence, whatever. So I don't get notifications, because it's so easy just to click the notification button, you know. And next thing you know, 3 hours later, you're in this Instagram wormhole.
It's also just a focus thing. Like, if you're doing something and your phone goes off and you pick that bad boy up, your attention has been deviated. You're not in the zone anymore. It's hard to get back in the groove. And if you're doing this every 10 minutes, like, you're wasting valuable production time. And,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
Realistically, your art is suffering. And, you know, the electroforming side of things, there's a lot of prep work that goes into it. And there's a lot of, like, there is a little bit of downtime sometimes that you can do those posting things. But if I'm in the middle of like designing something and I keep checking my phone, like, I'm gonna miss a dry time, I'm gonna miss something that I need to have or I'm gonna like over polish something. You just get distracted. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, or like on the torch, you burn yourself, or you grab a hot tool or some dumb shit, you know. It sucks.
I've never gotten burned from a torch, but I have been zapped a few times, and that's terrifying. So I feel it.
Yeah, man, that's something I definitely want to not get into necessarily, but I want to dabble in a little bit of everything in the community. You know, it's something I want to definitely get my hands involved in. Understandable.
Yeah, part of the reason me even coming over to Korea was just to really raise funds for my my electroforming project I'm starting. I mean, a lot about your show is about young entrepreneurs and like what they're doing, and that's something I'm actually working for right now. I've had the last year of prep work towards this my company's called Infinite Alchemics. Nice. That's what I'm going by. And that's just all for saving up funds, capital, and doing research into my market and trying to get that settled and figured away so I can hit the ground running in now 22 days.
Beautiful, dude. Yeah, so you're leaving Korea in 22 days?
Yep, back in September. We can do any of these by phone call after that.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, man, because I definitely want to bring you on as a regular segment, especially like, and start the goal with the website was to start like a real glossary of like real terms and knowledge and stuff. Because of the non-conformity or whatever you want to call it across the community, there's so many different terms being used for so many different things, or for the same thing even, you know. So it's going to be nice to, if you know, with what you're doing and with what I'm doing, and a couple of people out there that are promoting. There's like glass torch talk guys on you know, Facebook and stuff. So we can all get together and really get this community going where we're all using the same terminology. You know, it'd be really cool to kind of get that going. And with these different formats between the YouTubes and the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the podcasts and stuff, our community now has these outlets to pay attention to, you know, and then become involved in and give us feedback, and, you know, really we can help us, help them, help us, you know, kind of thing.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest part, I mean, with anything, education never hurts anyone. Like, spreading knowledge has never been a bad thing. And by becoming more cohesive, it'll allow for a lot less strenuous ideas. Like, if I travel out to California and I walk into a glass store and I use some terminology, I want the guy to be able to understand me. And it also just helps customer relationships across the board. I mean, these posts are going to help not only consumers, not only like your everyday smoker, like pipe enthusiast who's walking into a store, but it's going to help the shops too, because a lot of them need to learn as well. Because I've walked into stores where no one knows anything, and they're just like, check out this thing, it's red and has horns, and you're like,
yeah, that's stupid.
Yeah, man, it does have horns, thanks for that. And that's not the conversation we need to have in the community. It doesn't need to be talking down to people, but it needs to be about educating them and be like, hey, this is our product here, this is in Calmo, it takes X amount of time and this amount of skill, and this is why we're charging, you know, $1,200 for it. It took this man 10 years to learn this skill, or, you know, it's that education that creates value and creates, you know, culture, respect to that culture as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it reminds me, like, when I was first getting into this game, one of my first distributors I had, he taught me a lot about the business, and not necessarily the glass business, but business in general and selling and wholesaling and stuff. But, you know, I was getting to a point where I told him, I was like, I got to make this amount of money per hour to survive, to make my bills, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, my wife does this, this, and this, and she only makes this much money. And my answer to him was, well, why do doctors get paid what they get paid? So doctors have put in 8 and 10 years of their life to learn what they're doing. That's why they're getting paid what they're getting paid, because they're specialized in what they do. I'm a specialist in what I do. I put 16 years now in, so I'm still told all the time that I undercharge a lot for my work, but my perspective is also I've got my high end and my low end and my middle end, and I want everybody to be able to afford something of my glass. But that being said, it's still funny to see that perspective out there that, oh, you shouldn't make that much money doing artwork or having fun. You know, it's kind of this bullshit moniker that's out there. So I think what you're saying by educating by educating the store retail people, educating the community, there's this cross-the-board communication and education, so people can actually understand and appreciate why this thing costs $10,000. You know,
absolutely. And, you know, honestly, like, I think the big moniker I've heard a lot of, or like the big thing I always hear is like people are like, that's too expensive. And it's like, yeah, it's too expensive for you, broke ass. Like,
yeah,
it's not for you. This giant, beautiful piece of artwork that took 40 to 50 hours one person, and then another person another 30 hours to make, isn't for you.
Yeah.
It's for someone else who can afford it. But here, there are tons of beautiful smaller art pieces that are in your price range that have been made by the same person or a very similar artist in that sense, where you can have a smaller piece of that art in your pocket today. And I think that needs to be really understood that, you know, if you want to dream big and you want to put away your money and you can save up for this $4,000, $5,000 piece, do it. Like, who cares what you as the consumer buy? It's up to you. But it's not, you don't get to suddenly devalue a product and say that they're charging too much because it's unattainable for you, or you see it as unattainable. That's being ignorant to the art itself.
Yeah, it's like going to a Ferrari dealership and being like, I'll give you $20,000 for that.
Yeah, they would laugh at you. They would literally laugh at you and be like, I bet your credit score can't even get you a key to try out this car. Like,
yeah.
Get off our lot.
Yeah, exactly.
We have real people to deal with.
Yeah, with bags of cash.
Yeah. So,
yeah, go on.
I was going to say, the big thing is, you know, as the market expands too, and especially the legalization of medical cannabis and just like cannabis in general, you're seeing a lot more high-end customers come in. Like, there are lawyers out there who are definitely pro-cannabis, guarantee it, like 100% guarantee it. You know what? That man just spent $5,000 on an end table. What's going to stop him from spending $10,000 on his luxury piece as well? And so that market is now growing and is available. So artists can push their limits out there, and that's the coolest thing I've ever heard. Like, hey man, you can stop making $250 rigs, and you can now push your art to the limit and try something new because there is people who will buy it. That doesn't mean they're going to stop making small stuff. There'll always be someone to fill in that space, and there's always up-and-comers that are like throwing like beautiful prices on pieces. Like Bubbles the Butcher, like if I can give a shout to him, like I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but he does only auctions, and I've seen easily $1,000 pieces go for like $300 off his page, and that's just because that's the way he thinks, and he just wants to get his art out to the people.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. Like that's why I do my auctions. Like I first when I was doing them once a week, and then I was doing them twice a week, and I didn't want, which I hate to say I didn't want because it's kind of bullshit, but I didn't want the perspective to be that, oh, I'm just doing this because I'm hurting for money or something, because people were hitting me up like, what, are you hurting for money, or you're selling your shit for too cheap? I'm like, no, dude, my goal is that if I make an item I'm selling for a price on a regular basis, I'm doing an auction so that those that are looking for an affordable item that they can bid on in their price range, they can potentially get this item. You know, because I've got, like, I've had to, like, fine-tune the auctions just so my shop owners are happy, because they don't want me, you know, selling.
They don't want you to devalue your work.
Yeah, exactly. So I've had to, like, set price points and stuff. But I do the auction because, like you're saying, I want people to be able to have my art in their house, and the people that have my art in their house appreciate it, which is awesome. Like, it's neat with going back to the whole Instagram social media deal, to have communities of artists, whether you're a painter or a woodworker or a sculptor or whatever, to have this vast outlet now as an artist to sell your work and get paid what your work is valued at, instead of having to be dead and all of a sudden your art's valuable because you're no longer alive and you can't make it anymore.
Yeah, no one wants to live the Van Gogh model. That doesn't sound very fun to me.
No, hell no. I want to keep living and continue to grow as an artist, and my prices continue to go up because I continue to grow as an artist. I keep my lower price points as well, but, it'd be nice. Like I'm, doing chandeliers I've been doing for a while that I'm just getting back into now that I have this bigger studio space. And they're high-end, I'm getting money that I never thought I had gotten before when I was first making these things. Like, it was just unimaginable when I got my first commission. And that's where I want to get back into. Like, I love making pipes. The pipes are always going to be a thing of mine. But as a glass artist, I want to expand my line, in a sense, to make my pipes, make my houseware, make my lighting, make my glasses and cups and whatever. Like, I got this whole brand new stained glass kit from my wife's teacher. Her mother gave us a whole fucking stained glass setup, a saw and a router table with glass, the whole 9 yards. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, dude. So I brought it to the shop the other day, to our new studio, and I've got myself, my brother, and 2 other amazing artists. I'm like, dude, let's change the fucking face of stained glass and do it in Boro instead of having to do it in soft glass. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like 3-dimensional.
Wild.
Yeah, dude. I was like, let's put a rig in this bitch, and I'll heat your nail from outside your house, and you can be inside smoking. Just stupid shit. But it's like it's endless possibilities when you start getting into stuff like that.
I keep a sketchbook wherever I go. I bought this thing when I got over to Korea, and I put myself through. I suggest this for every artist out there, especially aspiring artists, new artists, old artists, but always be sketching. I gave myself a 100-day challenge where I was like, I want to get 100 ideas and concepts in 100 days. And that made me every day to make sure I at least tried, took it 10 to 20, sometimes hours just to jot things down, ideas. And I'm like I'm about to hit the forming kit with a notebook full of ideas, and I can pick and choose. And it just, no matter what, if I feel bored or an artist feels bored with what they're doing, they always have that notebook to fall back on and be like, oh, I remember designing that. Yeah, let's give that a try. Or, oh, that's a cool concept. How can I explore that further? And I think that's something that you always need to be pushing it. Like, how can you push your craft to make you as an artist stand out, and 2, to make yourself happy and, like, not be bored, because that's what art is. Yeah, it's cool that you're getting paid to do something you love. Everyone should be getting paid to do something they love. And if you're not, maybe you do something different. Yep,
exactly. That's part of my perspective on the show is whether you're scooping dog shit, washing dishes, or cooking behind whatever. If you love what you're doing, keep fucking doing it. Make sure you're getting paid the most money for it, and keep doing it, and be the best at it.
That's the other thing too. Don't be happy with being just semi good at something.
Yeah, mediocre gets you nowhere.
Yeah, I mean it gets you a place to sleep, maybe, and mediocrity gets you a mediocre life in that sense. But at the same time, like, maybe that's something for some people.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't have a lot of needs.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like when I got into the whole in college and got into Eastern, philosophy and the Buddhist and the Zen stuff, it taught me a lot about that whole concept. About the not needing things in life. But then I'm like, well, shit, I like having new cars and nice things. But I can also give back to the community and help other people gain those same items.
I think that's honestly, like, that's where it's at right there. Is if I'm in a place where I'm stable, all I want is a little bit of land. I don't need a new car. I'm good with the used car as long as it works, as long as it doesn't have problems. But if I'm in a position where I can give back to others, I think that's the way to go. It fulfills you. Like, even if it's just, hey, I'm doing a weekly food thing for anyone who wants to come over, or hey, I'm growing this garden and giving away some of my food. I have this special spot in my garden that all this is going to a food shelter. There's tons of ways to give back to your community and, like, still feel fulfilled and have things at the same time.
Yeah. So speaking of gardening, dude, like, kind of off the track here, how is it out in Korea to, like, do you have the ability to garden, or is it just all, like, are you in the city where it's all concrete and shit, or is it like?
All right, so I'm in Seoul. The population is 10 million people here. It's one of the largest cities in the world, and it's actually the most technologically advanced. I have a small little basil plant that sits on my little, like, outside my window in my, like, second-story apartment. That is, I think my apartment dimensions are 10 foot by 11 foot.
Wow.
So I'm in a single room. My bathroom is called a wet room. It has a toilet and a shower all in one, and a sink there. So it's all right there. There's no, like, separation from the two. My shower is also my bathroom.
Interesting.
Mine too. That's very standard here.
Interesting. I should have you take some pictures, man. I'll have to put them up on the page for you.
But I really love gardening, and so I've actually pursued it beyond that. And there's this local area, like about 20 minutes via the subway system, which is prime in Seoul. Great public transportation here, but it's about 20 minutes from here, and it's a community garden that I got involved with. So we have like probably a 10-foot by 3-foot little plot that me and like 6 other people garden every. I go 2 times a week, water it, make sure I weed it, and just kind of take care of it. But that's how I've been getting my gardening fix. Otherwise, that's like one of 4 like giant gardening plots in all of Seoul that you can go to. Otherwise, like there's smaller things, but it's hard to find. Produce and stuff, it's really seasonal here. You don't really think about that in the U.S., I realized, where I can't get blueberries right now. Like, there's no way. Like, they were here a while back. Strawberries were like, we were flooded with strawberries for a bit, and now they're gone. Can't get strawberries anymore either. And now it's apples and grapes. So I can get those wherever I want. So food goes really cyclical here. It's really seasonal.
Interesting. Is it all imported? Or does it...
A ton of it's imported from China, which sucks because they use 4 times as much pesticides like anywhere else.
No shit.
So you gotta wash the hell out of any of your produce.
Huh. I know this is like totally off topic, but this show is all about ADD and going all over the fucking place. So whatever.
That's all good, man.
I was listening to a show a couple weeks ago, and these guys are talking about these new companies that are doing. Basically, their concept was to go to like Africa or India or somewhere in the desert, where they can actually build, like a 20-story building, and every level story-wise would be some kind of agro farm, a fully natural light. They can even have cattle in these things, like the whole 9 yards, where it's like a fully sustainable ecosystem inside these buildings. Where
just go straight up.
Just go straight up, dude. So that's like levels upon levels upon levels of produce and fresh fruits and veggies and like everything, chickens and cattle. They let the animals out to have their free range time and stuff. But the idea of doing that in areas where you're at, because I've always heard like in Asia and China especially with their pollution and shit going on. But a lot of people do like like you're saying, like in a window or rooftop gardening or different type of things like that, especially with the way technology is now with solar power and what have you. But I thought it was an awesome idea because they're saying that like they can do full solar power on these things, like completely self-sustaining buildings. All they got to do is basically bring the water in, but once they bring the water in, the ecosystems in the buildings, they basically create their own rainstorms in a sense. Like it was, yeah, dude, it was really freaking rad. Like a whole new perspective on like where that type of technology is going to potentially go with it. And I guess supposedly what they're talking about, there's already starting projects out there where they're doing like 3- and 4-story buildings as like testers,
That's awesome though. Like that's such a cool concept. Realistically, like providing food for everyone on the planet is one of the most difficult things that we're dealing with. It's really easily done when we think about it, but there are parts of the world that there is no room, like such as Heart of Seoul. Japan is a big example too. A lot of their cities are incredibly crowded. And I think realistically, if you can't go out, you might as well go up,
Yeah, like the Jetsons.
Yeah.
So how is the glass community in Korea and out there? Or is there none?
There's none that I have found or know. There's a lot of like little glass art, and I've been to like a couple like foreigner fairs where it's just like international like things set up, and all these booths are from different countries, and I've seen like small little glass beads from like Indonesia and like handmade stuff, but nothing of prevalence. Korea's really behind that. The number 1 drug here is alcohol, and it's the number 1 drug in the world for Korea. They beat out Russia by double for drinks per person per week.
Wow.
So for anyone who's an adult, and like so there's a very heavy prevalent drinking culture here, and I think it's like 2% of the population has smoked ever, just not on a regular basis, or it's just like has partaken in any sort of like medical cannabis or any cannabis in any sort. And so it's very, very here, and the penalties against it are very high. So it's just you won't find many glass blowers, at least in the like recreational, like functional industry at all. Right. Which is so odd because you have the Team Japan like knocking out slop cups and just killing it over in Japan, but Korea is it has to do a lot with just how it's redeveloped after the Korean War. I think it's had to grow up really quickly. And because of that, it's old culture mixed with new culture, and it's still really developing. And like, there's a lot of old ways that are like very stuck in their old ways, but a lot of new people and a lot of the younger crowd is like try to push against that. So it's a really weird cultural dynamic that it just hasn't given birth to that at all.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah, I've always wondered that because I know, like, you always hear about like China and the different countries that are the communists, or the laws are a lot stricter. Like the penalties there are like death almost just for being caught with anything. It's like it's crazy what they do out there. But so with alcohol, what's the drink of choice?
Drink of choice is soju. It's the number one alcohol in the whole world. The number one drink alcohol in the whole world, I believe, is soju, and it's Korean made and it's drank by Koreans. I like to call it vodka's little brother. It's like anywhere between 10 to 16% alcohol, and it tastes like straight vodka. It's pretty awful. I hate it.
Fun,
but it sneaks up on people, and the culture though is like, especially in the business world out here, the whole idea is like the boss takes everyone out to dinner, and how the culture goes is the oldest person, usually the boss of the company or whatever, pays for the meal. And one of the things that's a sign of respect is you don't stop drinking until your boss stops drinking. So if the boss takes a shot, you are also taking a shot. And it's a big pride thing of like this male pride of like how much can I drink? And so the boss is like, they go and tell like that comical, stereotypical like tie on your head, like, ooh, waving around drunk. Like they get that drunk, and they don't. It's alcoholism hasn't like translated over here. It isn't a thing. There's no such thing as an alcoholic, and it's not uncommon to be like incredibly hungover the next day. They even the convenience stores sell like these little mini drinks that are supposed to be like hangover cures, where you drink one before going out and you drink one in the morning, and it's supposed to completely take away your hangover. It's like there's a whole industry behind it.
Wow, amazing. God, I can't even imagine. But I do want to get over there. It's actually the Arribas brothers, who I work for over at Disney. They about a month ago had offered me to go to Tokyo for 2 years to go work over there at the Disney store there.
That would be an opportunity.
Yeah, dude, for sure. That's one of the main reasons I stayed with the company was I enjoy what I do with them here in the States, but the opportunity to travel the world and go work in the other parks, it's still there. And once my son, he's got probably, I don't know, 11 years left since he's 8. Yeah, so about 11 years left until he's in college. So once that happens, then I'll be like, yeah, dude, let's do it. Unless, of course, they're like, hey, you want to go to France? Then, I think I might go hang out in France and just bring the kids. But who knows? I don't know. It's cool. But yeah, it's just kind of curious, man, because like I love Asian culture, and once that opportunity came up to me, it was like I started daydreaming about hanging out in Tokyo and having to learn the language, and I definitely enjoy that. And the fact that when you told me that you're over there teaching English, it's pretty badass. Are you pretty fluent in Korean?
No, Korean. I'm actually not very good at Korean at all. One of the things I've always been really bad at is like learning other languages. I'm really good at teaching English for some reason, but when it comes to picking up other languages, it just has never clicked with me. I have to try incredibly hard. So my Korean is super basic, and I can get by, but it's not by any means fluent. It's a pretty hard tonal language to learn. I can read it really well, actually, but I just have no idea what I'm reading.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's actually the easiest language to read, and I think it's like one of the easiest languages to read in the world. You can learn it in about 2 hours, and like you can master it in about a week, and if you practice hard enough, it's pretty simple to read.
That's badass, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was created by back in I think the 1600s or even earlier to help the masses learn to read very quickly. So all the symbols were really like they're based on like the shape of the mouth and like when you're making that noise or like different shapes in that sense. And it's an interesting way of going about it.
Fascinating. Mm-hmm. Do you think that when you get back from there, you're going to have like influence from the culture that's going to translate into your art?
Unbelievable. So much. Honestly, I have gone to a lot of temples here, and I travel, and I like looking at a lot of the old architecture. I hit a lot of the museums up, and a lot of their ancient cultural design is so beautiful, and a lot of their newer structures are not. They're very much stuck like 10 years behind us in like infrastructure and how buildings are made. But their temples and just the way they make their art it's very tantric in the sense like it's very mantra. It's very repetitive, but it's very beautiful. A lot of dark greens that I really fallen in love with, and just a lot of the shapes and designs that I really want to incorporate in my own art.
Nice. Yeah, it's good, man, because I'm all about the influences of other cultures. Like it's not that we don't have culture in the States. We really don't have culture in the States. It's interesting where our dynamics are here with pop culture per se. But, I definitely enjoy seeing other influences, especially with, like you're saying, with like Team Japan and the Japanese artists that are coming in and influencing and collaborating with the American glass artists. And the Japanese artists were influenced by us, so it's this cool, like, cross, inspirational type thing going on. It's fascinating.
I think that's part of like the whole internet generation. Is it's like right now we're Skyping real time we're talking like real time, like what, thousands and thousands of miles away, and it's smooth. Weird. It's instantaneous. Like that shouldn't be happening, but it is. Yeah,
it doesn't make sense, but I go along with it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take it. I don't know who did the math, but great job out there.
Yeah, thank you. Hell yeah, dude, that's awesome. So, do you have pictures of any work that you've done?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all over my Instagram feed, Infinite Alchemics. I was working with a lot of my older work still. Like that's the hardest part about coming to Korea is that I forgot to take a bunch of pictures, and I wasn't even really aware I was going to be starting this project soon. So I only had all these old pictures of my artwork where I was like, I'm going to keep this and do something with it later. And so now I've been like stretching it out over a whole year period as I design and build and work towards stuff. But I have a bunch of featured stuff where I was working with Legos, a lot of stuff with encasing like real deer antlers as like handles for tubes and some stuff like that. So yeah, I got some posts up though. I'll tag you in one of my comments.
Cool. Yeah, I'm actually going on there right now trying to find you.
Infinite Alchemics, one word. You'll see one of the Lego mini tubes I made. Good. A lot of ideas that I really want to bring to the electroforming table that I haven't seen done yet at all. I think that's kind of my next goal is to try and push that art form, that third-party artist, farther than it's been pushed right now. And because I feel like it's very much an aesthetic, but I also want to add more functionality to it, where I think there's a lot of potential there. So I think that's my goal as a e-forming artist is to really see how I can blend that line between functionality and aesthetics, like visual aesthetics. So most glass artists look at a piece of raw toomey and see potential, and I take a blank, clear piece and I see a canvas. And I think that's really like how I've been trying to build it up.
Yeah, man, that's the one thing about the electroforming myself personally. Oh yeah, I'm seeing your deer antler pieces. That's pretty rad.
Thanks, man.
Oh yeah, no shit.
That's a good response. I like that.
Yeah, dude, that's too cool. Interesting. Yeah, because like I started seeing some of the guys out there doing this stuff, and they were like, adding nuts and bolts and different things to pieces, and I'm like, damn, that's such a cool idea. But then I started seeing other artists out there that are doing electroforming that had nothing to do with glass, that were taking like bones and electroforming them. Or I know Chip Shipwreck, he did some baby doll heads for a bit that were like really fucking weird, but it was like so cool. Like, what a great idea.
So this last summer when I was getting ready to move out to Korea, I decided that I didn't want to keep renting a house. I wanted to save up money for the move. So I talked to the rents and was like, hey, can I move in for like 3 months just to kind of like before I transition out? And they're like, oh, hell yeah, we still got your old room. Now it's a guest room. You can sleep there, whatever. And I was still doing a little bit of electroforming for the shop I was working for, but I was like 300 miles away. So getting like product down there was not consistent enough. And so I had no glass available to me. All I had were like these precious stones I had bought. So I actually started forming those together and really designing a jewelry line that's no glass, but it's heady pendants that are all just the copper forming together. And the guy who taught me, Scott Bennett out of Cherry Glass, basically told me, he's like, if you can think it, you can do it, because we have yet to find anything we can't do. There is nothing we have been able to think of that hasn't been possible to do yet. So go for it. And that's really been my mantra ever since I started. And this last year of design has been really pushing that to its absolute limit. So I'm really excited to start sharing, really start to share with the community, like what I have to see in the future of electroforming, along with like glass hand in hand.
Yeah, man. Like, I'm looking at these masks that you did, like with the beaks on them.
Those are just Durfee masks. Yeah, those are really cool, actually. He's one of my favorite artists out of Duluth. He does no functional work. He's only pendants, salt shakers, old school style, a lot of marble work. But like old hippie guy, I've been on the torch for I think like 10, 15 years. Great guy to work with, though. So he's out of Duluth, Minnesota. He's one of my one of the main guys I work with when it comes down to it. So good dude.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's wild. Like, I really love the blue patina. Like when I saw Shipwreck was, really, like you're saying, like him and I did a couple collabs. For a while, like a lot of my work's influenced from the Depression era and stuff, like the glass style that they did, like the real simple forms and lines, but also the concept of it being affordable, type thing. And so some of the stuff I was doing had like, this antique look to it, and he was like, I want to take these and make them even more antique-y looking, So
and that old copper feel to it.
Yeah, dude. So we did them, and it was like I used some really basic contracts tubing, so it was like had this like ribbed texture to it, and it was lightweight piece. And then when I got it back, I was like, holy shit, this thing's like 10 pounds. It's amazing how much weight it adds to the piece. But it also seems like too, like it got me thinking, like, man, it'd be cool to do some sculptural pieces. You electroform them, and then you break the glass inside of it and get rid of the glass completely. So all you have now is this like copper shell that was like a skin coating over whatever it was that you made. You know what I mean? Like
that would be pretty wild.
Just as some ideas I was thinking about, like where you can take the glass as the foundation and then get rid of it completely, and you're left with this amazing copper thing. Because
it's still art all on its own.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. It's so wild, especially like you're adding. You can add beads and jewels, and it's mind blowing, man. It's pretty cool, especially now with the different metals that are being used, not just the copper. Seeing guys doing silver plating and gold plating and.
Well, that still is based on copper plating, though. In order to silver plate, you have to copper plate first, then nickel, and then silver over the nickel. Like, there is, like, steps to do it. And that's honestly why those pieces go for so much, is that you're not just getting silver on top here. You're getting, like, multiple layers of multiple metals in order to get a finished product. I've even seen a couple dudes going gold plating, which, like, I think is really flashy, but just I cannot see how it could ever be cost effective.
Yeah,
and the business side of me is just like, oh, stay away from that.
Yeah, dude. That's getting into the art, and as an artistic entrepreneur, that's the kind of the difficult struggle sometimes. It's like that you want to do this piece and you want to spend the next 6 months on it, but it's like, is it really financially? Can I afford that? Unless you have like $100,000 in the bank that's sitting on as a runway to allow you to do that, type of thing. It's
Absolutely. No one has that kind of backing, especially in our industry. Like, no one's just sitting around in 60 grand being like, I'm going to suddenly be a glass blower. Like, I'm going to stop pursuing these things that have made me this vast amount of money already, and I'm just going to pursue glass art. It's very uncommon. And if you do, like, power to you, man. Go get yourself set up with the best setups you can. But most people, they're starting from the ground up with nothing, and you really have to figure out a way to make that work. And I have a degree in economics along with my education background, and that has really taught me, like, you have to be able to minimize cost to a point. Like, as much as you can save and as much you can do for tax benefits is like, that's just as important as the art you're cranking out. And like, just listening to your podcast like last week, you were talking about how you put all of your glass into a pot, and I do the same thing with my copper scraps, because over a month my copper scraps add up to a couple poundage, and that I can write off along with like taking that in and like scrapping it for cash as well. And so it works out both ways, but it's super essential. Like, every penny you save allows you to do more later. And I think that's really essential for any young artist of any sort. Like, you need to be willing to learn, and you need to be willing to have that chance to learn, but you want to keep as much in so that you want to trim the fat, more or less. You want to be able to do as good a job as possible.
Yeah, like yesterday, we're doing this new studio build right now, and every time I go buy something or set something up or whatever, I'm like, yep, that's a tax write-off. Like, I got this, this little bit of a tax shelter right now by having a studio. That can write this shit off. And it also is going to make it easier for me to calculate my electric bill and, basic expenses, because I can't write my garage space off, because then I got to basically pay my wife rent to rent the garage, but then she pays taxes on the rent, the check that she gets, because it's extra income. It's like, it's such a tricky...
It's confusing.
Yeah, it's like, it's such horseshit, because technically you can. If you're in your garage and you can figure out how much square footage you have, and you can get a tax write-off on that. But you got to show that you're paying rent on that frickin' space per se. It's like, it's kind of silly. Unless you're outside of a studio and you have an office building or a space, then it's way more beneficial, because you have a landlord that's not related to you, that's unless you own the building, of course. But like I was fortunate, the place we got, actually the power is included in the rent, and which was like,
that's awesome. That's super neat.
oh dude, fucking, I was mind blown. He told me that shit.
Where can I sign?
That's exactly what I said. And I was talking to my neighbor yesterday. This guy's like, most of the places that are where we're at, they're like guys tinkering on cars and mechanics and detailers and stuff. And this guy next to me, he's got these two, like he's got a Chevelle and a freaking Camaro in there. And he's like, yeah, I just got a new Camaro. And if I knew your place was open, I'd have jumped on it before you did, kind of thing, because I needed a place to put my Camaro.
Nah, you have better things to do. You can keep your Camaro wherever, man.
Yeah, exactly. So I was stoked because, like, even while I was talking to the guy, people were calling him like, "Hey, man, you got a place for rent?" And it's huge. And anybody out there listening to this, the idea, like, don't always just jump on something because it feels good. Really figure it out and think it out, because you can get yourself really screwed and locked in. Like, I signed a year contract with this guy, so I'm locked in for the next year. But it's a different thing. Don't just rush into something. Do your research, figure shit out, calculate your numbers, do a business plan, figure out your budget, make sure you can afford it. And then I'm also, like last episode, I'm really preaching about having a 90-day emergency fund. Like, figure out, if it costs you a freaking $1,000 a month to run your business, or if it costs $5,000 a month, have $15,000 put away. I mean, in all reality, that's something that you got to do to make sure that you have a place you can work out of, or you can pay your bills, or whatever. I mean, it's essential to survive. There's an artist that's going to be coming on soon, which I had talked about. He went and had a basic medical procedure and lost the use of his jaw. Like, he got like lockjaw or something from whatever they did.
You can't blow.
No, dude, and he can't work because it's so painful for him. He's like being sedated because of it, so he can't even make penance and shit.
Well, yeah, you can't, and you can't be on a torch if you're you don't want to be on a torch if you're too sedated. That's how you get burned. That's how you end back up in the ER and with a little more time off, and then you're just really screwed in yourself. Yeah,
so it's definitely you never know when something like that could happen. So you got to make sure you've got some kind of backup, because you'll get in a hole really quick.
Safety net's important. I think, that's like kind of business 101. And also write off everything. Anything is almost anything you do is, in the first couple years, you can write off in your taxes. And there's no reason why anyone should be. And, like, I think that's one thing I've been learning a lot of, because that's a lot of my time is not just doing designs. It's a lot about exploring these tax avenues, trying to figure out what I need to do as a young business person, and trying to push my stuff off. And one of the big things I've been trying to figure out is, what can I write off in my taxes lately and eventually. And it's everything. Like, if you break a piece, that's a tax write-off. That's broken inventory. Yeah, that you can write off completely. If something gets stolen while you're vending at an event, that's tax write-off. Found that out as well. And, like, it's up to a certain amount per year that you can claim. Yep. And if you're not claiming this amount, or like, what is it, advertisement? Every small business is allotted a certain amount of money, spending on your state is allotted a certain amount of tax write-offable advertisement. And that includes giveaways. Yep. That includes anything that's getting your name out there. So if you give away a piece and you're not getting anything back for it, you can claim that. And guess what? You get that money back at the end of the year. And it's way better. And if you're not utilizing these avenues, like, what are you doing? Yeah,
exactly. That's why I've been preaching too about the whole paying your quarterly taxes instead of waiting till the end of the year and paying $10,000 tax bill. Pay it in small increments throughout the year, and especially if you do an estimated thing.
It's just way less stress too, because you don't have to save up as much, and if you overpay, you actually get money back at the end of the year too. Yep. Because exactly. It is just it's a quarterly is an estimate, is it not? I'm pretty sure. It's
it's an estimate. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's good shit, dude. It's like you're saying with the giveaways and stuff, that was something I knew about, but I wasn't 100% sure until I talked to my accountant this year, and she's like, oh, yeah, like, write all that stuff down. And I actually keep, I call it my graveyard bucket, and it's all my broken pieces. It's just, I take that bucket, I know that bucket weighs like, a half a pound or whatever, and if I got 20 pounds of glass in there, that's 19 and a half pounds of write-off,
Yeah, so, that's a lot. That buys you back 19.5 pounds of glass that you won't break later.
Yeah, exactly. And there's ways to sit down and calculate and figure out how much percentage of it was color and clear and blah, 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 just having a basic formula. But those are the kind of things we're going to have on the website, like some basic PDF downloads for ways to calculate, write-off taxes, checklists, the whole 9 yards, because it's important to be able to have, because with our industry, it's such an easy thing to do to run a business in a sense, because there's not a lot going on. It's like there's like A, B, and C. It's really simple. So you can overcomplicate this shit really easily as well. So the goal with the website is to really have we're going to have a whole thing on there and on business, on how you can really run a simple business, how you can make your profits, pay your bills, blah, 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 because you got to be able to put money in a savings, have an emergency fund, keep your stock in check, the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
I mean, one of the biggest things I think artists especially have a problem with is figuring out pricing for their objects and pricing for what they have. And there are formulas out there for figuring out exactly what your wholesale price is and how to figure out retail price. And the thing about it I've always been told is that if you're underpricing, you're not just hurting yourself, you're actually hurting the whole market as well, because you're forcing others to also have to possibly bring down their prices too. When if you at least competitively price at a good angle, or at least at what you should be pricing your things at, you're actually going to be successful as well, along with not pulling down the industry too.
Yeah, I agree, dude, because there's nothing worse than walking into a shop with an item and they're like, oh, I got this similar one here from so-and-so for half the price. It's like, well, that person that you got it from for half the price is probably just need the money for some pills or some shit. It sucks, man. Like, I know a lot of cats out there that years ago were just like, I want to be a pipe maker because I know I can make a couple pipes, I can go sell this shit really cheap, and then I can go get my drugs. And it just completely locally in my town, there was a lot of that out there, and it was killing the market locally. And we're a tourist-based industry as it is, so a lot of the people that come here are tourists and out of town, and they want to spend $20. So it's like these $20 pipes, they're still retailing for $20, but now they're paying $5 from these crackheads walking into their shops, instead of getting, me getting $10 for it. So it's like he's saying, definitely make sure you're pricing your stuff. It's that whole fair market value is what it comes down to.
Yeah, absolutely, that's a good term for it.
Industry standards. It's important. That's also why, like, I get frustrated seeing the hype colors go so high in price, but it's supply and demand, and you got to go with it. The price of the glass goes up, your price goes up. Don't bitch about the shit going up in price. Raise your fucking prices on your glass.
Absolutely. And then honestly, like, if your inputs cost more, your price costs more. Like, that's just basic business economics.
Yep.
Where don't undercut yourself just because you want people to buy it. You just have to stand by your glass and be like, hey, the reason this is this price is it has this Illuminati in there, and it's very rare, it's hard to come by at this point, and I got some, and I blew some in there, and it's there. This whole thing, UV reacts. People dig that. That's a sell point for you as a store. That's a sell point for you as an artist if you're trying to sell it person to person. And like the consumer, that they want to be excited. Anyone who's buying glass, and I've worked in that retail business for years, they just want to be pumped as much as you want them to be pumped. And if you show them something and you're excited as a store, they will pay a little bit more to get it because they want to. And like everyone, like what college kid or what kid doesn't want to show off to their friends and be like, check out my pipe. Oh yeah, what about that? It glows now. And like, yeah, it's hype, but hype sells sometimes, and that's fine.
Yeah, dude, I'm actually in the process of hopefully, I'm not saying hopefully, but I've got some things going on right now. To go along with this whole hype of the glow stuff. Because back in the day, which I hate using the term back in the day, I use it all the damn time, but back in the day, like when the glow stuff was coming out, it was kind of like we were like, yeah, whatever, this stuff sucks. And now it's out again, and it's like it's gotten better, and the community loves it.
It's not radioactive anymore.
Yeah. We actually, a buddy of mine, we used to get uranium glass from this guy to Texas, and it was like, it would register on a Geiger counter. He actually had one at his house, and he's like, check this shit out. It was like, whoa.
But you know what? If you blew with that right now, if you got some like good old uranium and blew like a sick piece with it, there'd be so much hype around that. It'd be like, yeah, that's the new UV stuff. This stuff still registers on a Geiger counter. You got to be careful with it, but it's cool.
Yeah.
And I guarantee, like, there would be plenty of people who'd be like, that is the sickest old school tech ever. I mean, I can't remember. I think maybe it was Eric Ross or Brendan Martin a while back, like, suddenly found a bunch of, like, 10 or 15-year-old color rods that they had just forgotten about or been saving up for a rainy day. And they busted it out, and like it was an extinct color. And these extinct colors are becoming more popular because that's the whole collector mindset is you want something that everyone else doesn't have.
Yep.
And that industry is growing. That market is growing every day, and it's awesome because that's where the fun begins. That's where as an artist you can push because people want more interesting and cooler things. They want you to be creative because the more creative you are, the more individual your art becomes.
Yeah, it's true. I saw Brandon Martin post the other day some Draconis colors he had used, and when that company had come out, I guess it was ended up being too expensive to produce it, which is one of the reasons they stopped it. But I got a good friend of mine. He was first started blowing glass with me, and halfway through his apprenticeship, he cut the tip of his middle finger off. Oof. And so he was out for like a year. Couldn't do glass-wise, like really bad stuff. But he educated himself, and he stocked up on color, dude. This kid has got a fucking gold mine of colors that aren't being made anymore. I mean, he's got like pounds and pounds and pounds just stored away. He's just waiting to get it out, and he's done some work, and he's a great glass artist, but he knows, like, he's just, he was smart at that point in time as a business person to buy that shit.
So he just knows he's sitting on a gold mine.
Oh, yeah, dude. Like, I told him last time I saw him, like, bro, you still got those Draconis colors? Oh, yeah. He's got like 50 pounds or some shit like that, all this stuff. Like, just ridiculous, bro.
And you know what? Honestly, like, from the glass maker's point of view as well, for them to retire and come up with new colors constantly is such a great business model, because that creates that it creates that rarity, and in an industry that revolves around collecting, like anything, like collecting stamps. Like, people want the rarest stamps for stamp collectors, just like anyone who has a predominant glass collection is going to want something with some rare colors made by a predominant artist. Like, if you were to bust out a single one of your owls with only those old, like, retired colors, that owl is suddenly significantly more special than any other thing you will make that is of the same type or variety. And that helps any artist, and that helps any collector pursue.
Yeah, it's so true. Kind of another little side thing, I was watching this documentary last night on radiation poisoning and, like, the nuclear wars, and how nuclear power is actually positive, but once it became a bomb, it, like, completely negatively stereotyped it. And they were going around the world looking at levels of radiation, and they were in Brazil at this beach, and the radiation levels were, like, astronomical, like, unhealthy. And this old dude was, like, buried in the sand on the beach, and they're like, why do you do this for? He's like, well, because it helps me feel better. Like, I guess the guy has, like, bad body aches and pains and shit. So, like, once a week he goes to the beach, and his family buries him in the sand, and in this, like, black sand that they have at the beaches there from the volcanoes. But they went to fucking Chernobyl, and the levels were lower than anywhere in the world.
Really?
That they studied. Yeah, isn't it crazy? And there's a large community that has been back in Chernobyl for the past 20 years that nobody really, they know they're there, but not really. That people are just like, fuck it, we're going to come back to our homes. And, yeah, the levels of the radiation there, and they were saying that because of our lack of knowledge on how to treat it, we try to treat it and contain it. By containing it, it actually makes it worse. By letting it go and then naturally evaporate into the atmosphere or whatever it does.
Naturally dissipates.
It just goes away. Yeah, it was interesting, man. Like, kind of scary seeing these guys go into, like, Las Vegas and, like, major places where there's a lot of damn people, and the radiation levels were high. It's probably why we have this high rate of cancer. Like, they said there was something like 20,000 nuclear bombs have been blown up over the past, 50 or 60 years since that, whatever it was invented. And that shit goes into the world, goes into our air and, blah, 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 and our food. But then they go to Chernobyl, and it's like the lowest levels in the world from what they tested. It's weird.
That sounds pretty crazy. Throw that in the show notes. I'd love to check out that documentary.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll find out what it was called, but I saw it on Netflix amongst my lack of being able to fall asleep last night. I got woken up, actually, by Sarah Palin. They had a Tea Party documentary came on, and I was like, oh, that fucking voice. I got to turn this shit off.
Wake the dead.
Yeah, I was having a nightmare. All right, dude, so let's get into the lightning round. Again, the lightning round is where we have a couple questions. Give me 30 to 6-second answers. And the first question is, if you could work with any living glass artist that you haven't worked with before, who is it and why?
Ooh, so I put a lot of thought into this one, and I think at this point it would be Earl Glass Jr. I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but his Tesseract work and his just design work is, like, it's very unique. It's very simple, but there's just so many beautiful lines that would just go so well with electroforming, that just a dream about it. Otherwise, I think it would be Bubbles the Butcher, just because of his sculptural work, and I kind of already have been talking to him, and hopefully that will become a reality in the next couple months, doing some collab work with him. So
nice. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
If you could describe the sound of glass cracking in one word, what is it?
Oh, pain. Just hard working, just the pain of hard work going out the window. And, like, even though you can write it off, that doesn't make it any more painful, just because it is, at the end of the day, like, it's art, and it's your art, and it was your baby, and you've just put 30 hours into something, and, I'm pulling it out of the bath, and it's slippery, and it slips out of my hands, and it shatters. Ugh, just the the sound of your heart breaking.
Yeah, bro, that being the third party like kind of thing, that definitely would be very stressful. I stress out shipping my glass in general. I couldn't imagine handling, like, I've been doing some mail collabs, like with Deathball Glass and I. We did some collabs, and it was just like making sure that fab bag was not going to fuck up on me. Stressful.
Just so much bubble wrap and packing peanuts and everything.
Yeah, hell yeah. So, top 5 favorite colors.
All right, top 5 favorite colors. I would go with, if we're talking glass colors, I'm in love with Serendipity is probably one of my all-time favorites. Amber Purple is pretty cool off North Star, along with their Green Exotic. I really like the Glass Alchemy, their Tree Hugger Green and their Shamrock Green. I'm going to go with the Tree Hugger. And the last one would be probably just that like really straight China white kind of color. I know that Glass Alchemy makes a certain white. Maybe it's, and I know North Star's a star white, and that's really cool. So
heck yeah.
I would say those right there, especially that green. Oh, I love the Tree Hugger.
Hell yeah. Have you had any injuries in electroforming?
Yeah, you don't hear, like, for glass blowing, you're afraid of burns and heat burns, but electroforming, it's all about the chemical burns. And while, like, the copper sulfate, like, it gets in your skin and it doesn't bother you. If you get into a cut, it stings like hell. But the worst for me was just wasn't paying attention. I thought I hit the switch for my my rectifier off, and that thing can run up to 30 amps of electricity at low voltage, but amps are what kill you. And I was running it around 3, and I grabbed it, and even with my gloves on, I got quite a zap, launched back kind of a little bit, and was just like, holy shit, like heart racing. And yeah, don't do that ever again. That's a big one. Is electricity is scary and powerful, and it needs to be respected. So don't try to check out a piece out of the bath, and always make sure that stuff is turned off.
Yeah, dude. We were, my brother and I were talking the other day. There was a studio we've worked out of, and their kiln had a shortness somewhere, so you go grab the handle the wrong way, and it would shock the shit out of you every fucking time.
That sounds awful, especially if you're holding glass. Like, that's the last thing I would want to have happen, is just like, holding this expensive $1,000 thing. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, you break the rig and fish your pants all at the same time.
Yeah, it's a terrible combo.
Oh, shit. So when you're in the studio, are you a TV, a radio, or both guy?
I'm a radio guy, and honestly, one of the big things I want to do with when I start making sales and start doing more production this fall is I listen to a lot of albums, a lot of CDs and stuff, and I would like to start including with my CDs, especially out to personal orders people, is a CD of what I was listening to while I was making their piece. Like, here, man, here's the mind zone I was in while your creation was being made. Yeah,
dude, it's cool you say that, man, because like I've actually thought of some way to create a piece based on a song or an album I was listening to, and this like have that item I'm making, not necessarily a theme, but the energy that went into creating that piece that was influenced from the music I was listening to.
Absolutely, and I feel like the consumer is just going to be like, wow, this was like made to like Metallica's Enter the Sandman, or like whatever you're listening to at that point in time. That's a cool little influence. Like, it gives more depth to the art even. It's just like, wow, this is what went into this. This is part of that energy. Or like, maybe they'll think the opposite. Maybe they're like, holy, like, what the hell is this crap? This made my pipe? Like, oh, that's weird.
Hell yeah. And for the last one, I had to change it up a little bit for an electroformer. So if you were stranded on an island and all you had was a couple rigs and your electroforming kit, what other 5 items would you bring?
So if I had my electroforming kit and a couple rigs to make, I guess if I'm going just for like producing stuff on the island, and I somehow have, well, first it'd be like I would need the solar panel to like power the damn thing because it runs on electricity. So solar panel with like some basic hookup stuff on there. I would need a good pair of rubber gloves, because it doesn't matter how good your system is. If you're dipping your hand into sulfuric acid, it's not going to go well without a pair of gloves. So I need my gloves. I need the electricity for it. I gotta say, like, some sort of sand, something just like to buffer out the copper afterwards. And being in the ocean, it'd be hard. You need distilled water. Lots of distilled water, otherwise the copper gets patinaed right away. So I would have to have something to take salt water and make it distilled water, or like separate it out. So water purifier. Also, so I would be able to live and drink water. Mm-hmm. That'd probably be good too. And I think for the 5th item, I think that's 4. So 5th item would have to be Oh, of course. I need some sort of lacquer. I need to like be able to seal that shit up. So, and I can honestly patina with the salt water. So get that nice blue and greens like the Statue of Liberty. So you can even add some style to it. Some lacquer to seal it.
Hell yeah! I wonder if you could like lacquer it and then bury it in the sand and give it some kind of fun texture or something. You know.
I mean, I would just like try and put some corks in it, throw a letter in it, and just send out some rigs out to sea, letter in a bottle.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Right on, brother. Well, again, I really appreciate this, and it's been a lot of fun chatting with you. We kind of went all over the place in this conversation, but it's always entertaining when that happens, so fuck it. If you got any, like, kind of parting piece of advice for any of the new glass artists out there, anybody interested in getting into electroforming themselves, just in general, and, also the kind of the whole, I guess the idea of worldly influence and cultural influence, if you can kind of wrap up this little chat here with all that in one kind of thing, if you can, if possible.
All right, so I mean, last parting words for those who I will focus on people going towards electroforming, which is, if you're gonna start, don't start big because it gets really confusing really fast. There are a lot of small little setups that you can get for like beads and jewelry and stuff to really just like hone in on what you're doing, and just go from there. And honestly, like just keep pushing and have fun with it. If you're not, I think I've heard this many artists, if you're not having fun with what you're doing, then you can't be doing it. Like, I've been stuck over here for a year across the seas planning electroforming, and I'm itching. Like, I have this passion that I want to go and pursue, and it's driving me crazy. And if you can't find that passion in it, then try something different. But yeah, if you got the bug, like, just go for it because it's worth it. And that, I mean, goes with glassblowing. That goes with anything. Like, if you touch something and you're like, wow, this instantly vibes with what I'm doing and what I'm about, just go for it.
Hell yeah, dude! Great advice, brother.
Thanks, man.
Well, it's been a lot of fun talking to you over in Korea, man, for sure. It's, like you're saying, technology is weird.
Yeah.
It's the only word
Absolutely.
I can come up with. It's
Technology is weird. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. It's been a wonderful opportunity, and I hope to be on the show again. Like, I'd love to continue coming on and talking more about the Glass Knowledge page and just how we can expand the knowledge of the Glass community. It's a learning experience for everyone, myself included, and there's a vast amount of unwritten knowledge out there that I cannot wait to explore and hope we can reach out to the community and have shared with us as well. And I think that's the big part of it, is how do we get these knowledgeable people to share their, not I don't say secrets, but share just what they know, because people are dying for it. People are craving it.
Yeah, and I am as well, and that's why I'm enjoying doing this show, because I'm learning so much already myself. That doing this for 16 years, I still learn something new every single day, and then talking to guys that have been doing it for longer than me that are teaching me things that I just, like when Kemp Curtis came on and he talked about the origins of where the whole lamp working name term came from. It's like, it's freaking awesome. It's like I've heard all kind of stories, and he's like dropping knowledge, like he knows the word exactly what the story was.
That's crucial though, and like no one wants to write pipe history. Like, that's, no historian is out there like, oh yeah, this is going to be a crucial point in like this time. But realistically, like the glass industry, like the glass movement, the glass era is something that's happening, and it needs to be documented somehow. And especially if we want our culture and community to grow. So this is essential, and I'm really excited to spread and like share as much as possible.
Yeah, dude, like I said, like I'd love to do like a weekly segment, cross promoting the Instagram page and sharing on
absolutely.
here what it is that you're
if
doing.
You have an artist on every week, I would love to do an artist of the week on the Instagram page, where I put up a piece of their work, do a little bio about them, and directly link them to the podcast that they're about to be on. I think that would be just a really perfect way of like helping connect the two communities.
Yeah, I agree. I would definitely work all the kinks out and set some schedules going, for sure.
Sweet.
All right, dude. Well, if I knew how to say goodbye in Korean, I'd say goodbye in Korean, but I don't.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
It's something along the lines of 안녕하세요. And honestly, with the Korean, you just mumble it and say it as fast as you can, and they usually understand you.
Awesome. I talk fast normally, so I'd go there and get along pretty well.
Perfect. Well, thanks for having me again.
Yes, sir. And we will be in touch, dude. And also, real quick before we go, tell us how we can get a hold of you through emails and Instagrams.
Oh, absolutely. So if you're looking for the Glass Knowledge page, it is at Glass Knowledge on Instagram. That's our only source right now. Otherwise, you can kick me at All Copper Everything for my kick feed, or my personal art Instagram is Infinite Alchemics. Infinite. Sorry, I need to learn how to spell because I'm a terrible speller. But the word infinite and just instead of alchemy, alchemics is the way to go. So yeah, hit me up. Take a look at my art. Thanks.
Sweet. Hell yeah. Y'all go check him out. He's got some cool stuff. So, all right, homeboy. It's good talking to you, brother. We will be in talk and hear more.
Sounds good. Peace.
All right, dude. Take it easy. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.
You're listening to the Wise Guy Radio Show.